Hey there, chemistry students. Welcome to Educate. In this video, we are in the third electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction. We have already done halogenation and nitration previously, and now we are focusing on the sulfonation of benzene. Remember, the electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions are all reactions that have to do with reacting a benzene ring with another particular group or another substrate, another substituent. All right, so here we are going to be reacting benzene ring with sulfur trioxide. So here the reagents that we'll need is a benzene ring, and we are also going to need a sulfur trioxide, and we are going to do this in the presence of sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, whereby the H2SO4 is concentrated. So we use a sulfuric acid as a catalyst, and this sulfuric acid is concentrated. Please make sure that you get that condition is concentrated, all right, and it will act as a catalyst for our reaction. The aim of this particular electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction, it is to create benzene sulfonic acid. You can see that this is benzene sulfonic acid, whereby you've got a benzene ring, and connected to it is a sulfur having 3 oxygens. Okay, it's 2 oxygens and an OH group. So this is known as benzene sulfonic acid. That is the major product of this reaction, given that it happens at room temperature. So here, remember one thing, that this is a substitution reaction, particularly it's an electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction. So here, remember that each and every benzene ring has got 6 hydrogens surrounding it. So each and every carbon has got a hydrogen here, but we are only going to write 1 hydrogen, or to indicate 1 hydrogen. So in this particular reaction, we want to replace this hydrogen with this SO3 group. Okay, so here we want to replace this hydrogen with this SO3 group, and we want to see how does that happen. How do we end up having this benzene sulfonic acid? Okay, so here, how do we replace it? Please make sure that you understand what's happening here. You are having a benzene ring. This benzene ring is having a hydrogen here. It's also having hydrogens at each and every carbon around it, but here we only indicate 1. We would like to replace this hydrogen with this SO3H. Okay, so we will see how does that mechanism. Okay, so when you see an H here, it is not the same as this hydrogen. All right, so please, as you see the mechanism, you are going to understand further. So here, if they say give a full detailed mechanism of how benzene sulfonic acid is formed, even if they just give you a statement without showing you a diagram, you must know that benzene sulfonic acid is a benzene ring connected to SO3H. Okay, that's benzene sulfonic acid. So we want to try and indicate how does this electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction occur. Remember, for every substitution reaction, generally we need 2 things. We need a nucleophile as well as an electrophile. So there are 2 things that are needed for a substitution reaction. I always remind you in all the mechanism that you would always need a nucleophile which has got a lone pair of electrons. It can be negatively charged or it can be neutral, it's fine. And then you also need an electrophile. An electrophile usually is connected to a leaving group, right? And that leaving group is usually more electronegative. You already know that. And this electrophile, it is usually slightly positively charged, or it is electron poor. So the properties of the nucleophile, you must remember that the nucleophile is electron rich. Okay, it has got an extra pair of electrons that can be used to make a bond. Then the electrophile, it is electron poor, or it is electron deficient. It is having a shortage of electrons. So in this particular case, we always say that when we're having the reaction of benzene, always the benzene ring acts as a nucleophile. So in each and every electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction, we always say that the benzene ring acts as a nucleophile. So this benzene ring, it will be the one that will be giving the electrons. It is the one that is having an extra pair of electrons. And if you ask me, where is that extra pair of electrons coming from? Of course, you can see that the benzene ring, remember that it has got lone pairs. It has got pi electrons. Okay, since it's having double bonds here, it has got pi electrons, and these electrons are delocalized, so they can easily be donated. They are loose, those electrons. They are not really tightly bound to this benzene ring. So the benzene ring always acts as the nucleophile. But here, do we even have an electrophile? No, we don't have an electrophile, because this sulfur trioxide, it is actually a compound, and it is perfectly balanced. but we need an electrophile. We need something that is electron poor for this to happen. That's when we now employ this mechanism. We first generate an electrophile because an electrophile is needed. So here the first step, it is to generate an electrophile. Generate something that will require electrons, and the benzene ring will give it electrons and bond to end bond with that thing. So here we want to generate an electrophile. So that is the first step, generate an electrophile. So when you are generating an electrophile, how do you generate an electrophile? We are going to take this reagent, our sulfur trioxide. So this is sulfur bonded to O, and then bonded to another O here, and then bonded to another O here. So here we are having lone pairs of electrons, 2 lone pairs each on the oxygen. Each and every oxygen here is perfectly neutral and everything is fine in this particular sulfur trioxide. And here we want to turn this sulfur trioxide into something that will have an electrophile. We want to make it electrophilic. We want to make it electron poor in some way, so that the benzene ring can donate electrons to it and form a bond with it, because that's the main aim. We want to form benzene sulfonic acid. So the only way for this benzene ring to be able to kind of bond with this other group, we need that other group to be electrophilic. We need that other group to be electron poor, because basically a nucleophile always gives its lone pair of electrons to the electrophile, as in like it create these lone pairs of electrons are used to create a bond between the nucleophile and the electrophile, and then the leaving group always goes away. You know this from substitution, right? So similarly here, we want to create this nucleophile. We want to generate this electrophile, I mean. So to generate this electrophile, that is when we employ this sulfuric acid, H2SO4. So the sulfuric acid here, which is H2SO4, it is the reagent which is catalyzing this reaction. It's the one that will make sure that we will have an electrophile that is generated from this sulfur trioxide, SO3. So I will take the structure of sulfuric acid. We need to remember that sulfuric acid has got a certain structure, right? So sulfuric acid is having how many hydrogens in it? It is having its H2SO4, right? So it's having 2 hydrogens there, but we have got 1 hydrogen here as part of an OH group. Then this O is bonded to the sulfur as the central atom. Then this sulfur, which is our central atom here, this sulfur is double bonded to an oxygen there, then is also double bonded to another oxygen, then another OH group here. You can just confirm if the structure is correct, because it's supposed to have 2 hydrogens, 1 sulfur, and 4 oxygens, because it's H2SO4, right? Then these oxygens are just having those lone pairs because they're just perfectly neutral. There's nothing wrong with them. So each and every oxygen here is having those lone pairs, and those lone pairs are kind of repelling each other and whatnot. So here, to be able to generate our electrophile, what is going to happen here? So basically, we need to remember one thing, that when we're having this oxygen here from the sulfur trioxide, this oxygen here from the sulfur trioxide, it is slightly basic. It is slightly basic, or maybe it can act as a base. When we say that something is slightly basic, it means it can act as a base. What does a base do? A base always abstracts a proton, okay? It always receives a proton because it's a proton acceptor. When we say that something is a proton acceptor, in this case, it means that it's something that takes away a proton, all right? Please don't think that the acid will donate. No, not in that sense, okay? In actual fact, the base is the one that takes away the proton from the acid, okay? So it's not like it's not like the acid is donating a proton. Yes, it's a proton donor, of course, according to simplified definitions. But in actual reaction mechanism terms, how do you represent it? It is the base that actually takes away the proton from the acid. So in this particular case, we are going to have this basic, this oxygen, since it is basic, it will use one of its double bond here to be able to extract a proton here. So it will be able to extract a proton. And when it extracts a proton here, we need to recognize that this proton or this hydrogen, which will become a proton, is already bonded to the oxygen here. And when they are bonded already, it means that this bond between them, it is to break, okay? And the electrons from this bond have to go to the oxygen. Because remember that each and every single bond, it consists of 2 electrons. So the electrons between this H and O bond will go to oxygen. And then what is that going to give us? This is going to give us something like this. This is going to be a reversible thing. And we're going to have S. Then we are going to have our double bond oxygen. This oxygen, we didn't do anything to it. The one at the downer part here. Then we're going to have another oxygen. Nothing happened to it. And then here, this oxygen here, this double bond was broken. So we broke this double bond. So this double bond here, it was broken. And one bond here, since it was broken, it means we're going to remain with only one bond. And some of the electrons that are coming from this broken double bond, they will be used to bond with this proton. Okay, so those electrons will be used to bond with the proton. So automatically when we draw this, this is going to be something like a single bond to oxygen. This oxygen still having 2 lone pairs of electrons because we are not using them to bond, right? Then we are having a hydrogen. So here, this hydrogen, it is the proton, this H here that has been abstracted from the H2SO4, right? So from the sulfuric acid or from the H2SO4, the proton that has been abstracted, this H here, it will bond with the oxygen. But to be able to create a bond, remember that we need some electrons, okay? We need a pair of electrons. Now you ask yourself, where does this pair of electrons come? Where does this pair of electrons come from? Basically, we broke this double bond between oxygen and sulfur, all right? And then the electrons of that bond that has been broken were used to create a bond with the hydrogen here, to create a bond with the proton, or to abstract the proton from the sulfuric acid. Then eventually we'll remain with a structure like this. But we can see one thing here, that the oxygen, it doesn't change its formal charge because the oxygen is still having a 2 bonds, so it's still fine. But this sulfur here, it will now acquire a positive formal charge because basically you can see that it had 4 bonds surrounding it, and it was neutral, but because it has lost 1 bond, it will acquire a positive formal charge. Then on the other side, you can see that this sulfuric acid, we have taken away its proton, so it will remain only with an oxygen, but this oxygen will now have 3 lone pairs of electrons. Okay, so this oxygen will now have 3 lone pairs of electrons, and then it will be bonded to the sulfur, then double bonded to the oxygen with a lone pair of electrons. Then it will be double bonded to another oxygen with a 2 lone pairs of electrons. Then we are having here NOH. Okay, so this is OH. So here you can see that this oxygen now, it has got an extra lone pair of electrons, because you can see that here it had 2 lone pairs of electrons. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 pairs, 2 lone pairs, right? But because that this bond between H and O broke down, what will happen? The electrons of this bond, they went to oxygen. So this oxygen is now having an extra lone pair. So that will make it to be negatively charged. It will acquire a negative formal charge. So now we're having HSO4 minus. So you can see that this is kind of electrophilic, right? Because now we're having a positively charged sulfur. That's an electrophile, because remember that the whole purpose of this step that we've taken here, it is to generate an electrophile. It is to generate what? An electrophile. An electrophile is basically something that is slightly positively charged. It is electron poor because it is having a shortage of electrons. So here, the moment we broke down this double bond between S and O, we made this sulfur to acquire a positive formal charge, making it electrophilic. Then if it's electrophilic, we already have our nucleophile, which is our benzene ring. We just need to react the nucleophile and the electrophile and get the result that we want. As simple as that. So the step 2 here, it is just to take our benzene ring exactly as it is. So in this case, our benzene ring is having this structure. So it's something like this. And then we're having a double bond here, we're having a double bond here, we're having a double bond here. So these are the pi electrons. Then now we will take our electrophile that we've generated, this electrophile that we've generated here, this one. So this, this one, the one that has got a positive formal charge on the sulfur, that's our electrophile. That's the electron poor substance in this particular case. So we'll take that electron poor substance, or that electrophile of ours. Let me just name this electrophile. Then we will introduce it to our benzene ring, which is the nucleophile. So we'll introduce this electrophile. Remember, the electrophile, it was sulfur with a single bond oxygen with a hydrogen there. Then this oxygen still has got 2 lone pairs of electrons. The sulfur has got a slightly positive charge there. It has got a positive formal charge, I mean. Then we have got a double bond oxygen there. Then another double bond oxygen. These are still fine. There's nothing wrong with them. We never reacted them with anything. So remember that in this case, you are now having 2 things that are qualifying for a substitution reaction, because this is a nucleophile. This is our benzene ring, is a nucleophile. It's a neutral nucleophile. Then this is your electrophile, which is the one that we have generated from sulfur trioxide. The moment sulfur trioxide took this proton, it made this sulfur to be positively charged. So what will happen? Since benzene is a nucleophile, it means that it will use its lone pair of electrons to be able to attack this sulfur, because remember that a nucleophile always attacks the electrophile using its lone pair of electrons. In this particular case, the benzene ring will use one of its pi electrons, the ones that are making the double bonds, right? So it will use one of those electrons. Let's just say it uses the one from this bond to create a bond with this sulfur, because this sulfur is electron poor. So we say that this sulfur is electron poor because it's having a positive formal charge, and all these oxygens are pulling away electrons from it. So it's electron poor. So the moment this benzene, which is nucleophilic, reaches the sulfur, this benzene, it will break down one of its double bond here in the pi system, and then using the electrons of this bond, it will create another bond with the sulfur. And how will that look like? It will look like something like this. So this is also reversible. So this will be the benzene ring. Okay, so in our benzene ring, we see that here this double bond is still there. Nothing happened to it. There's still a double bond here, but on this one you can notice that this double bond has now been broken. Okay, this double bond has been broken to be able to form a bond with sulfur. All right, so here we won't write the double bond anymore because we have broken it to bond with the sulfur. So this sulfur here, it will bond with which carbon here? It will bond with this carbon here. Okay, so this is the sulfur S, and this S here is having what? It is having 2 oxygens. So due to repulsions and whatnot, this oxygen double bond will be here on top. Okay, and then this oxygen again will be here at the bottom. This one. So these are these 2 oxygens. This is the 2 oxygens, this one and this one. The double bond, the ones that are double bonded to the sulfur, the ones having a double bond, they will actually repel each other according to the repulsion theory. And then the OH group, or this O and H, so this will be O, and then this is O, this is H. So you can see this is S double bond O, OH, exactly what we have here. So basically we have created a bond, or we have formed a bond between what? A bond between this carbon and this sulfur, using which electrons? The electrons from this bond that we have broken down. But remember that this bond here that we have broken down, it was also affecting this carbon here at this position. So the carbon at this position was also affected by the bond itself. So the moment we break down that bond, this carbon here that is highlighted in yellow, it has to acquire a positive formal charge. So this is to acquire a positive formal charge, and this is no longer a benzene atom. It is no longer a benzene derivative. It's an ion because it's having a charge, right? So we say this is known as an rhenium ion. So this rhenium ion, it can undergo different resonances and whatnot, but we're not going to show that. So this is the rhenium ion that we create here. So here, what is shorting here? You need to remember one thing. During electrophilic aromatic substitution, the benzene ring will always regain its aromaticity. So it means that in our final product, we started with the benzene ring that is fully conjugated. That is an aromatic benzene ring. Okay, it's having double bonds that are alternating each other. Okay, and then here you can see that we're still having the same benzene ring having double bonds that are arranged in the same way. But you can see that in our product here, the one that we have at hand, we are only having 2 double bonds, and we're having a positive formal charge. Okay, so what will happen? this ring, this rhenium ion, it will try to regain its aromaticity. So it will try to gain back this double bond. And how does it gain back this double bond? You need to remember one thing, that in the reaction mixture we still have got this HSO4 minus. So this is HSO4 minus, the one that we have created, or the one that we have derived from H2SO4. Remember that we started with sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, right? Then we have abstracted or this sulfur trioxide has taken a proton from it. Then it changed to become HSO4 minus, okay? HSO4 minus. So this HSO4 minus, it will be the one that will help this ring to regain aromaticity, because this HSO4 minus, it is still part of the reaction mixture. It is still part of the reaction, it's still in the reaction. So we are just going to take this HSO4 minus and just rewrite this. So I'll just redraw my rhenium ion here. Okay, so this is my rhenium ion. Then this rhenium ion here is having a positive formal charge here, remember. Then we're having S here, we're having double bond O, then we're having another double bond O, then we're having OH, right? Then we're having lone pairs here, right? Remember that here, this is our HSO4 minus. Our HSO4 minus, we can just draw a structure something like this, just down here. So this is our O, that has got the negative formal charge. Remember, it has got an extra pair of electrons. Then this is our S, and then this is our O. So we're having double bond O again there. Then on this side, we're having OH. So this is OH. Okay. So at this stage here, what will happen? You can see that this is negatively charged, right? This is negatively charged. So this oxygen, it is kind of what can you say? So this oxygen is basic, okay? So this oxygen is basic because it's negatively charged. So it has got an ability to take away a proton. But which proton will it take away here? Basically, remember that here we've said that we always have hydrogen on each and every carbon. So it means here we are also having a hydrogen. Here we are also having a hydrogen. So here we are also having a hydrogen that is bonded to the carbon. All right, so what will happen? This oxygen that is a basic, or that's slightly basic, it will use one of its lone pairs of electrons to abstract that hydrogen. Okay, it will take away the proton. Okay, and remember, you can see that here that this proton, this H, is already bonded to this carbon. So what will happen to the bond between them? The bond between them, it will break. Okay, and when this bond breaks, what will happen? The electrons of this bond will form another bond here with this carbon, so that we can regain our double bond again. So let me just explain again what's happening here. You are having our rhenium ion here. So having this rhenium ion, what will happen? Since in the reaction mixture we still have got HSO4 minus, the one that we have gotten from H2SO4. This HSO4 minus has got an oxygen that is slightly basic. So this oxygen is able to abstract or take away a proton from this benzene ring, okay, this rhenium ion in general. So here, if it takes away this hydrogen is already bonded to this carbon. So what will happen to the bond between them? It will break, and these electrons of the bond will be used to form another bond here, and then this will give us something like this. Okay, so this will give us something like this is our rhenium ion. But now remember that here, this double bond between H and this carbon, it has been broken, and its electrons have been used to form another bond here. So we're going to have a bond here, we're going to have a bond here, we're going to have a bond here, and then here this is going to be bonded to S. The hydrogen is now gone. We are no longer going to write this hydrogen because it's now gone. It's been taken away by this HSO4 minus. This is our HSO4 minus that is in the reaction mixture. So this is going to be S. Then we are having, remember that this S is double bonded to O there, and then we are having lone pairs here, then double bonded to another O. We're having another lone pair here, then we're having oxygen, lone pairs here, then we're having hydrogen. And here it is. We've already synthesized our product, which is the benzene sulfonic acid. You can see that this is benzene sulfonic acid because it's having a benzene ring that is bonded to this SO3H group. So that's benzene sulfonic acid. But here, another product that we'll have here, since we have said that this HSO4 minus, it will take away the proton from this. Basically, when it takes away the proton, it just means that we're just going to add the hydrogens, okay? So this is just going to give us plus H2SO4 again. So it will just give us H2SO4 again. Why do we say this is H2SO4? Of course, if you can see that here in this, we're having HSO4 minus, right? This is sulfur bonded to 3 oxygens and 1 hydrogens. So here, the moment that this HSO4 minus takes away this proton from the benzene ring, right? So there will be another hydrogen that is added to this HSO4 minus. So that will be H2SO4. So you can see that H2SO4 here, it has acted as a catalyst because it has regenerated itself at the end of the day. Remember that a catalyst, it always catalyzes the reaction. It makes the reaction go fast and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the catalyst is not used up. So in other words, it just simply means that the catalyst will still be there at the end of the reaction. We started with H2SO4 because it's the one that helped us to generate our electrophile here. This is H2SO4, but at the end of the day, the H2SO4 will still regenerate itself. Okay, and at the end of the day, you need to realize that this benzene ring, it is still aromatic, because during electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions, the benzene ring's aromaticity never fades away. So you need to remember what is aromaticity. So here, we'll never find a benzene ring having only 2 double bonds, okay? So it must always have 3 double bonds. It must always be fully conjugated, all right? So here, in whatever reaction mechanism that will happen, the benzene ring must always remain aromatic. The benzene ring must remain with all its 3 double bonds, alternating with single bonds one by one. Okay, and at the end of the day, the catalyst, which is H2SO4, it must regenerate itself. So this is the sulfonation of benzene, whereby we react a benzene ring and sulfur trioxide in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid to be able to synthesize or to form benzene sulfonic acid. Thank you so much for watching this video, chemistry students. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to also stay tuned.